Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Qualis, the Non-Stop Playing Podcast, and I'm back with another series topic. So as I normally do in the beginning of each episode, if you haven't already, check out my last episode. I had my girl Santana, the creator, on. She was dropping gems related to being a woman in the film industry, as far as creating films, not being on that other stuff, if you know what I'm talking about. But she's already won an Emmy for one of her works, Why Clyde Got Shot. So if you haven't already, check that out. She's a real dope queen from out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So check her out. But let me get into this quick because I got a young man on here that I've known for some time now, and he got a lot of prudent information for the community. And I was just super excited to get him on because I know he's doing a lot of major things, and we got to get this information out there. So without further ado, I have my boy SBS or Struggle Before Success, Mr. Brown. Can you please introduce yourself, talk more about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what are you trying to accomplish moving forward?
Oh man, I appreciate it, bro. I want to give back up to Quali. He's been someone that's been he's been really intricate and just some of my development, man. Because I'm actually a college dropout, which kind of talks about some of my story. I'm a college dropout, and one of the things that Quali did, he was in a position where he could allow me to kind of come speak and offer some advice to, some of the freshmen that work that the freshmen at Morgan State University. Now I dropped out of Morgan State, but since then I've been able to become an entrepreneur, business owner where I do real estate. I help people when it comes to credit, in terms of fixing their credit, helping them get capital and operating capital for their businesses. And so just with some of the knowledge and things that I've been able to come across as throughout my journey, what was big is just, when you do drop out of college, a lot of people look at it like, that you don't really have anything to offer to the community, or and maybe you're just not as valuable, right? And so one of the things I liked about, Quali, man, is he's put me in a situation where I could be, valuable, that I could be someone that can help other people out, and that could, just be a benefit to other people, man. So that was something that really was big for me, and I just, I'm glad that he got me onto the podcast. I'm glad he got me onto the platform. So I want to get back up to him, man. Everything that he's done, every episode that he's done, everything he's doing. I just want to, for all his followers, all his viewers, for the future viewers and future followers, man, this guy's a great young man, somebody you definitely should follow and definitely tap in with. So that's really my story, but I just wanted to basically give it back to him because a lot of times people see the glory, but they don't know the story. And, Quali has been impacting other people's lives for a very long time. So whether it be the people at Morgan State, the kids, whether it be my life, he's just been an impactful individual, in this time. And so I just want to give back up to him for everything he's done as well. So that's, that's back to him on his own platform. So,
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that more than you know, and it's interesting because how we met was, you know, it wasn't strange by any feat. It wasn't bizarre. It was just more like connecting on an entrepreneurial spirit tip, right? So I know you work for another company. I'll kind of let you get into that once I give it back to you, but. I was introduced to you by one of your colleagues who was under your umbrella in terms of mentorship and guidance and things of that nature. And off the rip, I was already on my own venture, doing my own thing. But when you get in an environment with like-minded folks, it's always that let's connect, let's network, let's figure something out so we can all get to this money. So
right,
from our first initial conversation, I was like, yeah, I like this dude.
right,
He got it's something about him. He reminds me of me, even though we're in the same age bracket in a sense. But
right.
as far as like what you were doing, and that was actually I had just moved to Baltimore at that time. I had met you in like September, and I had moved out to Baltimore in July. So for me, I was
Okay.
like, I was already only accustomed to what was happening on campus. Working as an administrator. So I was like, man, I seen The Wire. You hear all the things about The Wire, and that's related to Baltimore. I think that's what if I'm not mistaken, the West Side, where all
Hmm.
that was going on. But
Hmm.
Baltimore, the individuals from Baltimore, they have this grit to them. They have this edge to them. And I'm like, yo, this guy embodies all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because you wouldn't take no for an answer. So I was like, I like this. But at the time, I wasn't interested. I was interested, but I didn't want to get into what you were doing because I already had what I had going on. But I knew down the line that we was going to reconnect at some point because you've been so consistent with what you were doing and always adding to your portfolio of all the things that you've accomplished so far. So I was like, yeah, I got to get back with this brother because you really talking some stuff that I've been doing research on myself. And you see the people that's doing TikTok, you see the people on IG. Everybody got a story to tell, but it's always by my ebook or do these other things where it's kind of like the end of the road and you don't learn anything. You just wasted 150 to $200 depending on how much they charge you.
Right.
So the fact that I know you personally, I was like, yo, if he on this and I've been hearing about this and I actually been doing reading on this, there has to be some merit to it. Has to be some merit. So I was like, let me reach out to him. And I was like, and I had just started doing the podcast. I was like, I want him to share his story with my listeners, my followers, because it's an intriguing story. You're a father as well, and you've been doing your thing. So we have those connections. But my first question to you is, what really piqued your interest to become an entrepreneur? Like you said, I wouldn't say you're a college dropout. You are a college pivoter. You know what I'm saying? He's like college wasn't what you wanted to do based on whatever was going on. So the fact that you did that and you pivot to the entrepreneur realm, talk to let them know why did you choose to do that?
No, man. Growing up, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. My mom was a nursing assistant by trade. My dad worked for the city of Baltimore, right? And one of the things that was key is that my mom had a work ethic. My dad had a work ethic. Their work ethic was something that was undeniable. I mean, my father. Not only did he work a full-time job, but he would drive to New York every single Sunday. To at the time he would buy CDs. Make people's albums. Back then CDs and DVDs was still like a thing. This is how long ago it was. So he would drive to New York and buy the CDs and DVDs, Baby Fat's sweatsuit, Sean John, all of that, Baby Fat. Like he would buy Apple Bottoms. You know what I mean? Y'all familiar with that? He would buy that stuff for low, and he would drive back to Baltimore and go to different salons, different barbershops every day, weekend. Saturday, definitely Fridays and Saturdays. For sure. And then that was hustle. You know what I'm saying? So he went to work 9, let's say 8 to 3 or whatever, 7 to 4, whatever. And then after that, his hustle was to drive to different barbershops and salons and stuff like that, and try to sell clothes and CDs and DVDs, right? So my mom, she was someone who she went to work as well when she got into real estate, owned property and things like that in Baltimore. And what happened was for my mom, she never really tapped into credit or any or using other people's money. So, I would see little things like my mother would, go out there and, get the property fixed up, and then, next thing she moved a tenant in, and then, something happened when the tenant moved out, they trashed the property. And then she wouldn't have enough money, or she at the time it would be like a process she had to go through to get the property back up and running, and so you just see some of the hassles that they had with money. My father, like the CD DVD business was definitely lucrative for like as a part-time hustle, right? And one day he went to lift up a box in the house doing a normal routine. Went to pick up the box, he said, and he fell, on a couch. And, knowing my father was, most like anybody, everybody say their father was like a champion, right? Like, like he good, you know what I'm saying? And so when he fell out on the couch, he went to the doctors and they basically had told him he pinched a nerve in his back. And so with that being said, he couldn't run up and down the road in New York anymore. And, a lot of that kind of slowed down. And, I'm saying out to say that, that my parents, did the best that they could with the knowledge they had, the information they had. But what really, made me want to be like he said, a college pivoter, or someone who wanted to really do something different was, watching my mom, dad, my grandma, my granddad, just watch them, go to work and be at work. And knowing that that I didn't see myself 30, 40, 50 years, going to work. So, growing up in Baltimore though, right? Like, you got hoop dreams. Like, all is, what I'm saying, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, you got hoop dreams. And that was me. I was someone who had big hoop dreams, like big, I'm going to the league. And I remember like basically getting to high school, and like when I got to high school, I still played basketball. I think until like my 11th grade year. Okay. And that was the key because my 11th grade year, it was an option to basically getting a job and getting a car and start doing like the adult type of situations that you can think about when you're 17 and 18. And it was playing basketball. And at the time, just being genuine, man, I was like, man, I don't know if I make it to the league. And, you had to be really good, and I just, being like what they say, realistic with yourself, which is, we'll talk about that later. But, I just didn't feel like I was that great to go to the league. right? Which was a crazy bad decision. Bad decision. But well, everything happens for you, but it was a bad decision. And but the dream that I had with hooping was the LeBron, the Carmelo, the Dwayne Wade. I wanted to be able to take care of my family. I want to be able to take care of my family tree where we don't have no issues, where I could send a check, like, oh, the mortgage is paid. Like, I wanted to be that guy for my family. You know what I'm saying? And the only people that I knew that did that legally was NBA players and NFL players. Like, I always wanted a real. I say a real bag because I feel like $1,000,000 or you talking about 500,000, 600,000, $1,000,000, right? Like a lot of times, like a lot of people, like just in our space, right? Like we make 50,000. Oh, somebody would say, yeah, man. Like I was on the phone with a girl and she's like, yeah, 75,000. Like that's no money. And the reason it's not to down, but what people have to understand is like, okay, I'm gonna give you an example, right? So like I was watching the clip from Cam Newton. Most of you guys know he's an NFL player, right? He was a star NFL player. So there's a clip on TikTok where Cam Newton, okay, I mean, yes, he plays NFL, but that's not the point. It's just to expand your mind, right? So Cam Newton, okay, his direct deposits every 2 weeks was $775,000 every 2 weeks. Okay, now we live on the same planet. I just want you, okay, think of it. We live on the same planet. Okay. Now we walk, I walk, you walk, we take shits, you know what I mean? We piss, whatever, right? Like, could you imagine if your direct deposit was right? Could you imagine if your direct deposit was $775,000?
Man, listen, bro. If that was
I
me,
mean, I get it.
three-quarters
But
of a
see,
meal.
we hear the contract. Like, you make 80 million. We hear that. Never. We've all heard contracts like that and never looked at what it would be every 2 weeks. Because that's a job. Like, whatever, how we look at it, I'm sorry, Smile. Right? However we look at it, that's a job, right? Like, whatever, it's an employee, it's a wage, it's an employee. So I'm not saying that we all play NFL, but what I want people to understand is that there are people that get direct deposits that are like that every 2 weeks. Now, since we know that, would as a person, would you still be okay with 75,000 in a year? If you know that people are getting 775,000 every 2 weeks,
Nah, I need all of it.
like it's just you know what I'm saying? So, just in my conversation with people, to answer your question, like I wanted to be able to take care of my family. I wanted to be able to be like the person that could send the bag for Mom Dukes. Oh, you want to buy the house? Mom, we got you. You want a new car? Mom, we got you. Right? My kids, good. Like I wanted to be able to provide a lifestyle that, they would never have to worry about money. And the only way that I felt that could be done was at the time was the NBA or the NFL. So I had big hoop dreams, and how I became an entrepreneur was I ended up going to Morgan State University, and I didn't have a dream job. I didn't want to become a lawyer, doctor. I just did. That wasn't my mindset. And because of that, man, it was just like, I got introduced to business. When I got introduced to business, what attracted me to it was that there was people making money. They were making millions of dollars. And it's not about, just telling you, man, there was people that was making money. They were our color. I get that, and they were making, it wasn't 775,000 every 2 weeks, but imagine 75,000 a month. Imagine 100 grand a month. Imagine at 50 grand a month, right? And so the reason I say these things is because a lot of times we are okay with losing. We become accustomed and being okay with just the normal of 75,000 a year. Okay, great, but I just want you to know that people do that every month. There's people that do that in a day. And so if we start striving for what's available, then we all can get it. The problem is a lot of people don't want to strive for it because you'd rather go and collect a check. You'd rather go, have someone tell you what to do so that you can make money instead of being a creator. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of the things we gotta understand is that being a man of God or whatever you are, he created you in his image. What is God? He's a creator. Right? How did he create? Look, through words, right? Let's go to Genesis. Genesis says he said, in the word it says he said, check this out. In the word it says he said, let there be light. And what's the next verse? And there was
light.
Right? So when you think about it, if you the is what you say is you can create anything what you say,
Manifestation.
right? In Genesis, it told you he said let there be light. It was light. It wasn't a question. It was I let there be, and then there be.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what are you saying to yourself? What are you looking at? What are you reading? What are you feeding yourself? Right. So, for me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what it means to me, what to answer your question was taking care of my family, being able to provide a lifestyle that, that we didn't have to worry about money.
Mhm.
Okay. And to do that, I just knew that, you had to make an astronomical amount of money. You couldn't live, I couldn't take care of my entire family tree on 75,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just all in what your dreams are. So, and if you are that person that watch this podcast and you have dreams of taking care of your whole family tree, just know that you can do it. And it might not be your job, but if you have dreams of taking care of your family tree, it can be done. But you have to do something and you got to go for it. You can't, you can't just depend on a job, man, especially not in today's time, especially, in the time that we're in. There's too much money happening around. Right before the call, we were talking about Toro, and you were talking about just to play with Toro and how now you can make a whole nother play with Toro where you can get 4 new cars. There is ways that we can change our financial situation, but we have to tap into money. We got to tap into credit. We got to tap into financial literacy. And so what happens is we all perish for lack of what?
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
and,
You know?
and this is why, like I said, our first conversation we had, bro, you had me, like I said, in terms of what you were doing, I was interested, but I have much going on. But this was the exact conversation we had 5 years ago. 5 years
Yep.
ago, we had the same conversation about money, financial literacy, and what are we doing specifically as a community? Because Morgan State is a historically black college, so everyone at that college looks like us. And if you're listening in and you're not on the actual YouTube channel, we're young African American black males. So when we come from those environments, we already have our history. We have those things that may be bestowed upon us that are unfortunate, or that disenfranchisement that has not put us in position to be successful. But there's ways to be successful. It just you got to tap in the right way, and sometimes you know sometimes you got to lead. There's a lot of sheeps and not a lot, and you got shepherds. So if you want to become a shepherd, you got to find out a way to find another shepherd that's going to mentor you, or even go seek the knowledge yourself. Like they said, the best way to hide something from anyone is to put it in a book. So you crack the book open, you're gonna be good. You just got to tap in with it and believe that you can do it. Do it, just like SBS said. And we're gonna get into that in a second. You are created in that image, but being created in that image, you can create yourself. You have that ability. You just got to tap in. But I love what you were saying, brother, because it's all factual, and we need to really hone in on that. But one thing that I wanted to expand on is the SBS, or the struggle before success. Can you talk more about that, your moniker? What does that acronym really stand for? Like, how did you come up with that? What is that? What is that the embodiment of?
Oh man, same thing, bro. Growing, man, I equate a lot of my understanding is just Baltimore, Maryland. When you grow up in Baltimore, Maryland, man, you lose friends at 13, 12, the gun violence. You know what I'm saying? You lose friends and things like that to certain decisions that they might have made, and they go to jail. You know what I mean? I got a guy that just messaged me on Facebook today. You know what I'm saying? Somebody I went to elementary school with. One of the first things that he said in the message was he just came home, right? And so what struggle before success really just means for me is like, that my life was a struggle. And it was a struggle based upon one financially, but struggle to, one, get away from the struggle. See, the thing is, like, everybody say they want out. Everybody say they want this and that for their life, but a lot of time, everything that you say that you want in your life, it takes or requires you to take some type of action. Okay, and what I realize is that people don't for whatever the reason is, they don't really want to take action. Okay. And so what Struggle Before Success was, it was a brand that just was a mantra that, resonated with me, someone who came from Baltimore, who watched my family struggle and who knew that I was going to be successful. And I am like, I am successful, like I am speaking into existence as we continue the journey, as success continues to happen. Right. And so for me, I just knew that I was going to be successful. But what I also understood was that I understood my struggles. Like, I understood what I came from. I understood what I went through. I understood what families go through. Like, I really understand most people, what they go through and the struggles and why they make the choices they make. But what I also understand is that you got to be a person that's willing to take action and make the right choices. I took a lot of I made a lot of choices to do wrong. Whether it be selling drugs, whether it be different things that I did in my day. When I went to Morgan State, even just talking about being a college dropout, the reason I dropped out, right? Because one, I didn't have a dream job. I talked about that, but two, I was selling marijuana. I would be in class, math class. Somebody hit my phone, yo, let me get a 3 for 25. Whatever he said about the X equals Y, I'm already on the way out, one way to the same. Right now, somebody might say, "Oh, that's not a smart decision. That's not something to do." But you have to understand, right? The struggle that I had with school was that I couldn't make no money. You telling me I got to sit and listen to Joe for an hour? Bro already hit me for $25. It looked better to go get this 25 to listen to Joe, right? But it was based upon my decisions and what I understood about, just life. Now, am I saying that's the right thing to do? No, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. But what I'm also saying is that, you have to be a person that resonates with you, like with what your struggles, with what you're good at, with what your traumas are. And if you can be real with you, then you can be successful. Most people run around trying to hide them, trying to hide who you really are. You know what I mean? If you really spend time with me, you know who I am. And you either gonna like me or you're not gonna like me. You're gonna respect me, right? Because I'm not gonna be disrespectful. But you're gonna like me or you're not gonna like me. But you're gonna know what's up with me. Right. And I think that's the key. Like, basically what Struggle Before Success was, it was a mantra that resonated with me in my life. Right. I came from struggle. I'm on my way to every day is another day towards success. Right. But what it could mean for anybody else is the same thing. Hey, what struggles are you going through right now? And then how can you turn those struggles into you going to success? Right? Because you can always turn your struggle into success, man. It's just, but a lot of people just live in the struggle and don't really realize that it's about the actions and things that you take to get to the next level. So, man, all I've been preaching, how you met me was, helping people try to go to that next level, right? And how we connected was you being in a space where you were helping young men go to that next level, right? So, what I've always been about and what my brand is about, what my movement is about, is just helping people really just, like zone in on what it takes to go to the next level. And then taking action, right? Because if you take action, if you take action, whatever you really want to do, man, it'll change your life. So that's really my mantra. But it's really just, for anybody that's gonna watch this, when you watch it, whatever struggles that you have, they can make you successful. Some of the struggles that you have right now, you could market those struggles and make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different things that you can do in a struggle, but most people just don't see it that way. So, that's just my mantra, man. I come from nothing but Baltimore, Maryland, and we did struggle growing up. And so my thing was that I wanted my family to be successful, and I want if and whatever it took for me to have to do that, I was willing to go through the different ups and downs or whatever. So that's just why we're here, man. So that's kind of answer that. But that's SBS for y'all, man. Struggle before success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love all that. Love all that. It's important. Like at the end of the day, um, I'm gonna bring up Ye because everybody been talking about Ye, and
Let's talk about it.
yeah, at the end of the day, like a lot of people, they don't understand him as an individual, and you can never really understand a person because you can't be in their mind. But people do things strategically when they have an agenda at hand. And a lot of people are moving in a space with no agenda. They're just doing what they're told to do because they've been conditioned their whole life. So when you first walked into that classroom, whether it was kindergarten or even if it was daycare, because your parents had to put you in daycare, you were taught to be on a certain schedule and to follow rules. And if you don't follow rules, you will be punished based on those rules. And once and the thing about it is people are awakening. People are learning that you can go against these rules. You can fight for yourself. You can be an advocate for yourself. You can put yourself in a position where not say you're untouchable, but you create your own lane. You're a trailblazer at this point. And that kind of segues into what you're doing. One of the main things that you're doing now in terms of educating folks. And actually, just a disclaimer, this is not educational advice. This is just us talking, having a conversation, and sharing ideas. So if you want to do it, do your own research. If you don't want to do it, that's all fine too. But we are just having a conversation that you're listening in on. But I really want to get into something that really piqued my interest. Like I said, you've been doing a lot of things, and I vibe with all of it, right? But the one thing that I came across 2 weeks ago was you putting information out there that was relative to basically fraud that's been going on in the world based on systems that we utilize on the daily that we're uneducated on, that we need to get educated on, because if you don't, you're going to continue to be fraudulently misguided. So can you talk to the people about what you one of the facets of the SBS brand and what you're doing?
Oh man, so the specific information he's talking about is just like, basically when you go to a car lot dealership, right? And you put a down payment down. Now what happens is, a couple of things, man. A lot, and I'll expand upon this, but every time that I went to a dealership, I needed a car. I'm quite sure most people in life, like when you go to that dealership, like, you know what I'm saying, you desperately like need that car, right? And so what you find out is that when you go to the dealership, you got, let's say, troubled credit, and you go to the dealership with troubled credit, and they'll tell you, hey man, you got to put 2,500, 3 grand, 5 grand, whatever they'll tell you that you got to put down. Okay. Now the reason why, right, the reason why it's illegal, and I'm gonna talk about both parts, because some people are like, oh, what if you want to buy your loan down? Right, now, look, if you're someone who you're fully qualified to put no money down on the car, they tell you that you can do no money down, and you say, hey, I want to put 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand. Go ahead. By all means, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. Right? But if you're someone who went to a dealership and they told you, hey, you got to have this 2,500. Hey, you got to have this 3 grand. Hey, you got to have this. What you got to understand is that in any consumer credit transaction, there is no cash comparable. Okay? And you can think about any other, like, let's say you go get a loan, a line of credit. If you ain't got a line of credit from the bank, what cash comparable do you have to put up? Nothing, right? If you go get a credit card, right? And when I'm talking about secured credit card, if you get a regular credit card, unsecured, what type of cash comparable do you have to put up?
Nothing.
Okay, you don't, right? So what in the law it says, and this is based upon law, that in a consumer credit transaction there is no cash comparable. Okay, so when you go get a car, and even technically a house, any of those are still consumer. Anytime you put your social security number on something, that's a consumer credit transaction. So in any consumer credit transaction, there should be no cash comparable. Okay, that's one thing that they violate. Another thing they violate that we can talk about is just the finance charge, right? See, the finance charge, if you ever look at the definition, like by the law, even if you look at the CFPB, if you look at the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if you look at any of the actual things that govern, okay, the finance charge is supposed to be the sum of all charges, sum of all. So if you ride out the lot and you still got to pay car insurance every month, and that wasn't a part of the sum of all charges. If you ride out the lot, you got to pay car payment every month. Yes, that's not the sum of all charges. So that is a billing error right there, right? So, okay, in most of these consumer contracts, you can find the violations. Most of the ones that got down payments on right there, that's a clear violation, right? Because right there is a consumer credit transaction. I put a down payment down. Like I said, if the person wants to do it, they can. But at any point, the person tells you that you have to, that's when it becomes predatory. And so what happens is, how do you? Because people say, okay, okay, yeah, I put money down. What's the next step? Okay, perfect. Well, first thing you want to do is you want to get an original contract from your dealership and from the finance company. Okay, that's step one. So you call your dealership, you call your finance company, you say, hey, look, I want to get an original contract, for the car. They might give you some kickback, but they should send you the contract like it's yours. So when the contracts both come to man, what do you want to do? You want to look for any inaccuracies. You want to basically match the contracts up, because technically, right, if the dealership did everything and the finance company did everything, shouldn't they all have the same contract?
True.
Perfect, right? So if you get a contract from a dealership with a finance company, and you see different numbers or different things in the contract, that goes to show you right there that was some fraud that took place because both all the contracts should line up.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you put a down payment on, boom, that's one clear violation. If there's a billing error, another clear violation, right? And there can be other violations that you can also look for, which I'm not going to get into. But what's important for you guys to do is to basically get those original contracts from the dealership and the finance company. Now, once you have that information, okay, once you have that information, there's a couple things that you need to do. You would need to find out who the registered agent is for the dealership and for the finance company, and who the CEO, CFO of those companies are. Because now, when we send our letters in, we're not only going to dispute the deal. We're basically going after the dealership. We're going after the finance company. But we got to basically send our affidavits and things of truth, our debt validate, everything that we have to do in terms of the process, which is in my ebook, right? But everything that you have to send step by step, needs to go to the registered agent, and also needs to go to the CEOs of those companies. Okay, and so basically the whole point of it is, like, people say, okay, once you understand that fraud happened and there's violations and fraud happening, right? What happens is now you just got to put them on notice. So once you put them on notice that, boom, here's a violation, here's fraud. Now you're making your state, like, it's basically presenting them a case. Right now they can choose to honor it, go right away with it, or if not, then you got to take them to arbitration. But if you know for sure that they broke the law, if you know for sure they violated some of our charges, if you know for sure you put a down payment down and there's no cash there's no cash comparable in a consumer credit transaction, then quite frankly, you can basically go after the process. And that's basically why I have the step by step, that breaks it down. It breaks down the Truth in Lending Act and how that works, so you can understand the actual laws behind why it's really illegal, not just someone, blowing smoke out there, out their tail. And then on top of that, it just basically gives you this, the what you need to do step by step, in terms of going after the registered agents, the CEOs, and then how to make your remedy happen, right? And but a great start, because most people that's going to get on the call, get on the podcast, you're listening. The best start is really just to get your original contracts, from the car company and from the finance company, okay, and then definitely find out who those registered agents are and the CEOs are. And then if you want to move forward, I do have the template, but it's not just about the money, but I do have a template. What I'll do is, if you're on the podcast, you come to here, I usually sell a template for $97. What I'll do for Quale and his family, I'll just sell it for $17. So there we'll figure out a link or something, where, if you guys take a look at this and it's something that you want to get a template, you can get it for $17. So we'll do it like that.
That's love, bro. That's love. That's definitely love. Appreciate that. So if y'all listening in and this is something that you went out and made a purchase recently and you feel like there might have been some fraudulent inaccuracies that's on your consumer report in regards to, or your credit transaction, well, you need to talk to my man SBS, because he's Mr. Brown. You need to talk to him. And like I said, he giving out blessings. You know what I'm saying? Giving out blessings. It's real out here. So y'all tap in on that. But yeah, that for me, man. It's funny because I well, again, like I said, we on my yeast stuff. I don't want to get canceled, but
Right.
I
Right.
tapped in with that. I bought the books.
Right.
They
Right.
pretty inexpensive on
Right.
Amazon and stuff like that. So
Definitely.
it's out here. But
Right.
again, we gotta be more equipped with what we're doing and stop getting lost in the sauce when it comes to how we're running our lives and set ourselves up financially. Because well, I ain't gonna say I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you're in the same boat. Man, we try to retire financially within the next couple years. And when I tell people, I'm like, and that's funny. Like when I talk to the older generation about retiring at 40, which I'd probably be 35 at this point. They like, how is that even possible? I'm like, there's so many plays out here, like monetarily, that you can do to set yourself up. When we talk about passive income, there's so many things you can do.
Right.
You don't have to work a 9 to 5. And who actually created this template that we had to follow retiring at 65? You know what I mean? Who made this up? Because last time I checked, the average life expectancy is 73. So you mean to tell me that I'm supposed to retire at 65 with half of my pension? Because a lot of people don't know, when you retire, they tax your pension. So that 100,000 you thought you had, oh no, it's not that anymore. Now you're looking at about 50,000 because they tax half of that. So good luck, and then you'll be at Walmart greeting you know what I'm saying, trying to make up the rest in a couple years because you ran out of that money. But there's ways to do these things. But uh, let us take a quick commercial break, real quick. We're gonna come back with a little bit more before we end the episode because I got a couple more questions for my brother. So y'all just bear with us and we'll be back. Oh, it's a little housekeeping. If you haven't already, subscribe, follow, leave some comments. Let me know what you're thinking. You know, like I said, I've been trying to drop episodes, but I just had a newborn, so I'm on daddy duty for the next forever, of course, but some real daddy duty. But yeah, if y'all tap in, nonstop playing. I'm on all platforms: iHeart, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Where else I'm at? YouTube. So just check in with me, tap in with me, and then we'll be back in a second, y'all. All right, great people, great people. Had to take a quick little break, get some water. I know my man's had the Arizona tea, but your boy had to quench his thirst real quick, so we had to go ahead and take a little intermission. But we back, man, and actually we want to get into some more information because, like I said, I got my man's on, and he got a lot of prudent information. If you don't know what prudent means, a lot of important information that I want y'all to know about because we trying to get to this bread out here, and it's a lot of bread, and we've been talking about that the whole episode. So, my boy, man, SBS, tell them about like some things that you into right now that can help them with if they have like some extra funding they're trying to acquire, whether it be from their bank, credit union. How can they get some extra funding if they're looking to tap in with that?
Okay. I mean that's I think it's very important. I know that like one of the things that I say is I've been a business owner going on since 2014, so it's been about 8 years now. And one of the things that was always like a mystery, right, is how to be able to get other people's money, right? Like if you think about like the stock market, right? The reason why the stock market is such a big deal is because all these companies, Tesla, Apple, right, they have mastered getting people to invest their money, right? And what they do is they use your money for, of course, building, expanding, marketing, just things that's going to make the company money. And then what they do is they cut a dividend, right? It might be a dividend stock. It might be something where you make money monthly, right? But what that looks like is just that big major companies have mastered using other people's money. Okay. One of the things that I've realized that small business owners have not mastered or don't really have a recollect on or don't really have an understanding on is how they can use other people's money. And small business owners are the ones that really need it the most. Okay. And so there's a couple different ways that you can basically get money. Now, all these ways I would suggest having a 700 credit score on all three above. Okay. But there's two strategies that I'll talk about. One, okay, is what we call double dipping. Okay, I use this is a phrase called double dipping. But basically, what happens is if I go to a credit union, let's say I go to Alliant, or I go to Navy Federal, or I go to PenFed, or PSECU. There's tons of different credit unions. But what happens is these credit unions have where you can do one inquiry. Okay, and when you do one inquiry, that one inquiry could be good for 30 days. It could also be good for 60 days, depending on the credit union. Now, why is that important? Because let's just say I do an inquiry at PenFed and I get a personal loan for $25,000, right? So let's say today is let's say, okay, tomorrow's November 1st. So let's say November 1st, I do a loan, right? I get a loan or I do a loan and I do a hard inquiry with PenFed, right? And let's say I get approved for $25,000. Cool. I can call PenFed a week later or 24 hours later, 48 hours, whatever, week, 2 weeks, whatever, as long as you do it within the 30, 60, well, depending on that, the bank, and like I said, depending on the credit union, okay, because banks don't do this, but depending on the credit union, right, depends on how long that inquiry is good for. So let's just say for purposes, the inquiry is good for 30 days. So if I call, let's say I do an inquiry, I get approved, I get 25,000 on the personal loan. Boom. I call next week, right? When I call next week, what I can do is I can use the same inquiry from the week before and I can get a credit card. I can get a line of credit, right? Depending on the bank. Now, some banks have a maximum limit. That might be 50,000. It could be 60,000. It could be 30,000. Some banks or credit unions have like a maximum amount, a maximum lending amount that they will lend you, right? So depending on what that maximum lending amount is, you can use that one inquiry to get a 25,000 personal loan, but then now you can also get a credit card, a line of credit, or something else using that exact same inquiry. So that means you were able to get two accounts okay, opened up on one inquiry. Okay, now the slick way, how could I like maximize that? The way that you maximize that is you can find out, okay, a credit union that pulls from Experian, one that pulls from Equifax, one that pulls from TransUnion, right? So you can pull up 3 different windows, okay, for credit unions. You can do, let's say you do 3 credit applications. Let's say you all do personal loans, they all get approved. Wow, right? So now you call all those banks back next week, and you ask them for a line of credit or a credit card. So now you were able to get 6 different items, okay? 3 different credit unions, 6 different items. You only got what? 1 inquiry across the board. 1 inquiry in Equifax, 1 inquiry in your TransUnion, 1 inquiry on your Experian. But you just got 6 different credit cards, personal loan, whatever, right? 6 different lines on 1 hard inquiry. Okay, so that's double dipping. Now, what's another strategy? Okay, you might, bet that sounds good for credit unions. What do I do for banks? How do I do the same thing for banks? Well, for banks, you got to get access to what is called the secret lenders list. Okay, most people don't know there's a secret lenders list that basically you can look up each bank and what reporting agency they pull from, right? And the reason why it's important, because most people don't know that this is all about money. See, the reason why banks don't pull from all 3 every single time is because every time someone pulls credit, the bank has to pay Equifax or Experian or TransUnion or whoever they pull from. They have to pay for that report. Every time you go and say, hey, look, I want to inquire for a loan, whatever bank that you go to, whoever they pull from. So I'm going to talk about Bank of America because they pull from Experian. So if you go to Bank of America and you say, yo, I need a credit card, they are going to pull your Experian credit report. When they pull your Experian credit report, they pay Experian to get that report. Okay, so every time that someone inquires about credit, the banks pay to get the report. Okay, so what you have to understand is that's why banks don't pull from all 3 all the time, because could you imagine how much they'd be paying the credit bureaus? I mean, the credit reporting agencies every time someone came and applied for a loan.
Big money.
Right?
Big
Big
money.
money. So they only pull from Experian, right? So same thing. Now, Bank of America has rules. What rules do they have? They have a 2-3-4 rule. Basically, where with Bank of America, you can only get 2 credit cards every 2 months. You can get 3 and 12, or you can get 4 credit cards total. Okay, in your whole entire life, the Bank of America will only give you 4 credit cards, right? So what happens is, if you go and apply, you can do 2 Bank of America credit cards at the same time. Sorry, you can do the Bank of America business credit card, and you can do the Bank of America personal credit card. Okay, so you want to pull up the windows at the same time, though. So you would basically pull up the personal credit card window first, or in the business, and have them side by side simultaneously. Now, when you do the Bank of America, you want to run the Bank of America personal application first, because if you get approved for the personal card, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get approved for the business card. Okay? So you just got 2 credit cards in Bank of America. You only got 1 inquiry on Experian. Okay? Now, Barclays. You can do Barclays. You can do Goldman Sachs. They pull from TransUnion. Okay? So Barclays pulls from TransUnion. Same thing, right? So you can get for a Barclays card. You do an application. You got 1 inquiry on your TransUnion. Okay, so we got 1 inquiry on TransUnion. We got 1 inquiry on Experian. We got 3 credit cards so far. Personal Bank of America, Business Bank of America, Barclays. Okay, boom. Now Truist pulls from Equifax. Do you know that right now with Truist you can get a $50,000 personal loan with a 680 credit score higher, and they'll give you a credit card too? So what you could do is with Truist, you could then do an application, do the credit card and the personal loan. On now, Truist, if you kind of go through our plug, the way we can do it is you can do 1 inquiry for the credit card and the personal loan at the bank.
So you have to
Okay.
like physically be there
No. You could do it.
online.
You can set up the account online, but when we run you, it's the way that we run you, right? But just so you know that even with Truist, if you, even on in Truist, if you want to kind of do it the same way, you have to do it through a relationship manager, because they would have to run you for the personal loan, and then on top of that, you would get the credit card too. But just so you understand, though, if you know what bank pulls from what reporting agency, then you can line up a sequence to fund yourself. Okay, especially if you have low inquiries, 700 plus credit score, 5 accounts or more. So that's double dipping. In terms of credit union, that's just the double dipping strategy. Just means that each credit union, typically that inquiry lasts long. Lasts either 30 to 60 days. So if you do apply for something and you get approved, you can use that same inquiry. You don't have to do another whole hard inquiry to get approved again, as long as you do it in that same 30 to 60 days. With the banks, how you would maximize banks is that you have to get access to the secret lenders list so that you can pull up all the windows simultaneously and kind of go through the application simultaneously as much as you can. Right. And then hit submit, 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 submit. So that way that you don't get hit with all the hard inquiries.
So I got two things. So it's funny you say that because I've been hearing a lot of like I follow some people on social media and I got my own
Okay.
businesses as well. Like the Bank of like the Amex, everybody is on the Amex play because you can get like up to 8 cards with them off of that like that one
Right.
inquiry moving forward. So I know a lot of people been trying to run that play, but this is a whole new play that I've you just taught me about just now. Well, that you've been
Right.
speaking on and that I'm taking mental
Okay.
notes in regards to
Okay.
this information. But it's funny we were just talking about the B of A
Baltimore.
earlier
Yeah.
with the auto loans where you can get up to 4 auto loans. I mean, 4 vehicles with them and run a Toro play with that. Or if you wanted to
Yeah.
do something where you there's any other like because they have different kind of options like Waymo. I know out here in Arizona they got the Waymo play, which is a subgroup of Uber. So they're electric
Okay.
driving cars and things of that nature. So you got ways out here. Then you can run the play with the fuel cars. You got Fuel Man, you got A to B, you got the BP. Like you got different kind of gas cars you can get where they approving people for 50 to $10,000 and credit line with your LLC. You can run that and get to pay for your gas that way. Now you got to pay a little fee monthly, but I rather pay OPM, other people's money than sitting here using my own cash, my own credit cards. Keep my credit where it is and just run up the business credit because it's a separate entity. Um, so a question I wanted to ask based on the information you give, what would you say would be the most beneficial, like if they're for just somebody just starting off and they're trying to get into the game and they want to get some lending, what would you say would be your first initial move to make sure that you maximize being able to get approved for the amount that you're looking for?
The first initial move, I probably would just, I would want to learn credit. I want to understand how credit cards work. Because I think like the reason why people have bad credit scores because nobody's ever sat them down and said, "Hey, this is how it works," right? So like the reason why like I had a bad credit score is because like I didn't know how it worked. Like I just didn't know the finesse around it, right? And the reason I say finesse because like if someone lends you $1,000, right? Like okay, here it's $1,000. Now what I like about it is that as long as I give them $1,000 back, and the thing that's so crazy is I only got to give them $1,000 back for 5 days, 4 days, 3 to 5 days, and most people don't know that, right? Like there's credit cards that I literally max every month, but I just pay them off every month, right? But what I understand about it is that like I understand how it works, so because I know how it works, I can play the game. Like it's just like driving. If I didn't know that the lights was red, if I didn't know that stop sign means stop, if I don't know how to play the game, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna have an accident real soon. So I think the biggest thing that I want to do is just learn how credit works. So like if I get a credit card for $1,000 and my due date is the 5th, what does that mean? That means that your due date is like when they calculate interest. Let's start with that, right? How do credit cards companies make money? They make money off what? Interest, right? So if you paid by your due date every month, you would never, you listen, because people say, oh, I don't want to get buried in interest. Okay, think about this. If you pay your credit card off before your due date every month, you will never pay interest,
Exactly. Exactly.
which means that the money they did give you was free. It was their money. Now, do you gotta pay it back? Yes. But the point about it is that if you pay it back by the due date, you will owe no
Interest.
interest.
Facts. Yeah. Understanding and
Right?
understanding the 3 report days, the report day, the like I
Yeah, so
said,
that was the due date, the statement date, and then it was statement and reporting date, the same thing, right? So
mhm,
that was the next date, right? The statement date. Okay, right. I was getting that statement date. What is the statement date? The statement date is what gets reported to TransUnion, the Equifax and Experian,
mhm,
right? So like even if you're someone who, let's say you can't pay by your due date, okay, can you pay by your statement date? Can you get it in by the statement date? Because if you can get it in by the statement date, will you pay some interest? Yeah, you'll pay some interest, but will your credit take a tank? No, it won't, because your statement date, whatever it is on the statement date by that date, that's what gets reported. Okay, and so that's why I would highly encourage someone to understand how it works first, right? Understand that you can be late. You just can't be 30 days late. Okay, if your due date is the 5th, you got all the way until the 4th of next month before your credit gets effed up, right? So it's like people don't know that. I know people don't know that because people like I've been a person who had a car and it was like, oh, I'm gonna pay my car payment. Like, oh, all right, no, I ain't pay it. Get paid again. No, I ain't gonna pay it. Then you work out a payment plan and now you late. Just because you didn't understand, you can be late. Just not 30 days.
Facts. And that's what a lot of these businesses, like when they do the invoices, like when you do the net 30s, the net 90s, they give you that grace period to allow you to pay up to it. And that's another little play when you're trying to build business credit. So,
Right.
like, y'all just pay attention. Like, it's honestly what SBS knows, what I know. Like, we just did the research. We did the research. We started, betting on ourselves. We didn't rely on the public curriculum as far as K through 12, college, because this information bro talking about right now, you're not gonna learn it in college. Even if you're a business major, you can get an accounting degree. A lot of this information, a lot of it's not going to be explained to you, especially when we talk about credit, how credit used and how it works, and the fundamentals. The percentages, how it's broken down. Is not going to be taught in college, and that's why me, as a person who went through college multiple times, and I got all these degrees, and I'm like, dang, after 12 years of school, I ain't learned all this mess. Like, come on now, something got to give. Now, I'm an advocate for going to school if you're gonna go to school for the right stuff, but know that you got to have a backup plan and some other stuff going on because I refuse. I got two sons. I refuse to let my sons go through this life without knowing that you can get you a regular job, but you need some passive income and you need some investments out there. So when it's all said and done, you can retire. And we're talking about trust and will and handing out money for generations. We talking about generational wealth. It's hard to do that when you work in a 9 to 5 because there's no backup plan from there. There's nothing to set yourself up for the future. So you gotta look at what's going on. The rich stay rich and the poor stay poor for a reason. You gotta tap in. Gotta tap
It's
in.
about your last. It's about your last name, man. I mean, most of these companies, Hans Ketchup, and whatever company you think of, man, Lay's, whatever. I can look at whatever company we think of, man. It's somebody's last name. So what happens is these companies, found ways to create wealth and pass it down to their families, and we can do the same thing. We can do the same thing. But yes, credit is definitely a big piece. But just to piggyback on what you said, man, I think that's the greatest start, though. Just having a general understanding of how credit works and just the different rules and regulations. If you can start there, then you can play the game. If you're someone who drives a car right now and you figured out what stop sign mean, what the yellow light mean, what the red light mean, what the green light mean, that allows you to play the game. Just look at credit the same way, man. Do the at least the the research to understand exactly how it works. And I think that foundation of it will then carry you to, because once you get 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, like you'll get there due to the discipline that you had now, right? And then when you do get that type of money, you'll still be disciplined, because that's the thing about like I'll give an example, right? When I got with Navy Federal gave me like $50,000, different ways, credit card 15,000, is another loan for 35,000, right? Got 50,000 from Navy Federal, and the reason I say this is because you don't have to have A1 credit to even get something that can change your life. Okay. But most of you guys got to understand how the game works. See, with my profile at that time when I got that money, I had a solid profile. Like I had accounts that had been on there for some time. I had accounts that I paid on time, and things like that. And so it's just manipulating the actual system. And once you understand the system, it's easy for you to manipulate it.
That's a
That's it.
fact. That's a fact. And if you listen to anybody that's been in this and they're doing it and they're successful at it, they all say the same thing: consistency, knowledge, and being willing to be educated. Because a lot of people, they hard headed. They'll say, "Oh yeah, man, I'm with it. I want to learn. I want to do this," and then no, I think this is the best way for me to do it. Nah. If you follow trying to reinvent the wheel is going to go flat. Period.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is follow. Continue using the same wheel. It's given to you. It's already been shaped, sculpted into what it needs to be a functional wheel. Don't try to add no Pirellis on it. Don't try to do all this other like leave it where it's at, and the process will work. You have to trust the process. Um, so that's real. But man, I'm glad I got you on, bro, because like I said, the community need to know this. I talk about it all the time, but sometimes it's better received when there's another voice in the room. And like I said, you've been on your entrepreneur tip for 8 years now, doing major things, man, helping a lot of people out in the community, and you're doing things with grace. You're not doing things with an agenda to make, trying to, take stuff out of people's pocket. You trying to put money in their pocket. You're trying to put education in their mind. So, and like what one of my mentors always told me, man, don't chase the money. The money gonna come to you. If you're doing what you need to do, the money gonna come to you. You don't need to chase it, and you're doing what you need to do to get to the bread. So, yeah. Any other last thoughts for the listeners? Anything you want to share? Any like super
Yeah,
gems you
man.
want to drop?
I just want to thank Quale, man, just for putting me on the podcast, and I just want to I really just want to say thank you, man, just for you put me on your to the audience, and what I want to leave the audience with, man. Follow me on Instagram. There's going to be a lot of content there that could definitely benefit you. Um, but wherever you are in your journey, business owner, if you're a job, if you're a mom, dad, whatever your situation is, just like what I want to leave you with, man, is that you got to create a dream environment for yourself. So a lot of times I think there's people that's going to be listeners. You have a dream, you have a goal, you have something that you want to accomplish. There's things that you want to do. And the biggest thing that you can do is tailor your environment. Like I'll use me for an example, man. So I came to Florida, October 24th, really like Monday, okay, Monday. And it was a situation where I bought a flight. I bought a one way, right? One, because I want to move out to Florida, but two, right? I like you, like there's things in your life that we want, or there's things that whoever's listening, there's things that you want right now in your life, right? And what I would encourage you to do is to, in any way that you can, start living the things that you want now, right? If you say, hey, I want to travel around the world, right? That could be like you getting on a Greyhound, or you get on a, going to Philadelphia, get on a boat ride to New York, or it could be anything that starts you traveling, if that's what you want to do, right? If you want to international travel, right? I think if you can go to St. Thomas right now, without even having a passport. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think you can go to St. Thomas right now without even having a passport. So there's different things that you can do in your life right now that will shape your environment for where you really want to go and the things that you really want to accomplish. And that's why I'm here, right? I'm here, not saying I'm here to tailor my environment to what I want, right? So I came out here to spend a week because this is where I want to be. And my thing to you is, if you have a dream car, a Bentley, whatever you want to drive, then you need to go test drive it today. If you got $1 million house and you want to stay in $1 million home, or you want to stay in something, whatever, go call the realtor, or if you can't get the realtor schedule it, go find some open houses. Right? They have tons of open houses, $1 million homes. If you find an open house and you put on your schedule, you can go look at $1 million homes anytime they got open houses. Okay. And the reason I'm saying this to say is that you have to create a dream environment, man. Things that you want, the things that you want to do, the things that you want to live, the person that you want to be, you need to start not trying. In your capacity today, start doing it now. Okay, if you got to go to a dealership because that's where your dream car is at, and all you can do is take pictures of it, do it once a week, right? If you have dreams living in something, like I said, lavish, man, $1 million home, find open houses and go, right? Just start having an environment around yourself that feeds your dreams, because it'll take you there. What I see so many people do is their environment always feeds their problems, and that's why it's very important to do that. So what I want to wrap y'all up, man, whatever dreams y'all have, whatever cars, houses, whatever, and it's not about the materials. If you want a better relationship with God, okay, then start reading your Bible every single day. Start reading a book of Proverbs every single day. I mean, I don't care what it is that you want to do, but figure out what it is that you really want and start making your environment what you want now. As much as you can, as fast as you can, do it now. And if it is the materials, do that now. Because I think that the material, the money, money. You know what I'm saying? Right. The money. Go find out how much the Lamborghini costs. You can't go get the price tag if you don't know how much it costs.
Facts.
Right?
That's
If
facts.
you want the home and it's 3.5 million, you ain't gonna never get it. You want me? Why you're not gonna never go get it because you can't. You're not never gonna get it because you don't even want to get the thought in your mind so that you can figure out how you can do it.
That's facts. Big facts,
Right.
bro. Big facts.
So that would be my call to the audience, man. It's about to be 2023. You're talking to me right now, October 2022. But it's fourth quarter, like you said. In business, what that means that it's time to win. It's time to win the game.
2 minute
It's fourth
drill.
quarter. It's 2 minute drill. We got about 2 months left. 2 minutes.
2-minute
You know
drill
what
for
I'm saying?
sure.
Look, tomorrow's November, so we got 2 months left. It's 2-minute drill, seriously. And what are you going to do? Are you going to drive down the field? Are you going to drive down the field, or are you about to make excuses? Are you going to drive down the field, or are you going to make excuses? Because one thing for sure, you can't go down the field and make excuses at the same time. That's not going to work.
It ain't gonna work.
Right. And that's my thing, man. Just stop making excuses. Whatever you say it is that you want to do, go for it. If you say you're going to do this, do it. If you say you're going to whatever, do it. Be about it. Right? Your family is watching you. Your family is counting on you. Your son is counting on you. Your mom, your daughter, they're counting on you. And every single day that you're not doing what you're supposed to do, that you said you was going to do, you're letting them down. And if you're okay with that, then oh well. But I hope that if you listen to this podcast, you would not be okay with that. And I want to see you at the beaches. I mean, traveling the world. So that was that's my spiel. Follow me on Instagram, SBS _ Mr. Brown. And tap in with me. If you were on this podcast, if you watch this, what the code is going to be is Quale. Okay. So you send me, DM me Quale, any of my ebooks. If anybody takes a look at it, it's $17. Just DM me Quale. I take care. Any of my ebooks is on my thing. It's $17. For anybody that takes a listen to this, it's tap into his program. It's tapping into what he got going on. So I appreciate y'all, man. And we out. Well, I'm out.
I appreciate you, brother. More than you know, man. Dropping gems and giving grace. That's all it's about, people. Hey, pulling them forward and bringing them as you come. But with that being said, I got my boy SBS, Mr. Brown. He's doing big things, y'all. Tap in with him. And if you haven't already, please support the podcast. You can do that at anchor.fm/stop playing. But this is Quale. And then this is a serious topic, and I'll be back with y'all next time. I ain't been neglecting y'all because I've just been busy being on that all the time, but I'll be back with another serious topic. Y'all take care and be blessed.